Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Did I Say Podcast? A podcast where we talk about games.
Oh man, you tried. You made it halfway through.
Oh, hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Did I Say Podcast? Talk about how games change and how they
Tell
change
him you hate him now.
No. Can't tell, man.
You're in focus. Man.
Are you sure?
Yeah. You're in focus. Your eyes are just bad, old man.
That's why I have glasses. Okay, everybody's aware of that.
Anyway, that's why I'm not
today
sure.
We're going to talk about Monster Hunter Wilds. Hopes, wants, needs. What we think it's going to be.
All
in
my
the game.
wants are needs.
Yeah, I'm sure. So
all my hopes are wants.
I'm Tay. I've got Ryan with me. I've got Jared with me as always. Capcom is making Monster Hunter Wilds. Comes out next year. They're releasing little segment videos because Gamecoms is coming up, and I think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be playable, but I think they're going to show a lot of extra footage.
Yeah.
Yes.
Agreed. I'm still waiting for the Switch Axe video because I love the Switch Axe.
Whatever. Yeah. This is what we know so far. No Palicos yet. No Palamutes yet. The Sacrat is a bird. You ride it like the Palamute, but there's a new feature where it will auto direct you to your hunt, which is really nice. It will just take you where you need to go. And it's got a little glittery path that shows you where you're headed. They released like a basics episode that was like 2 minutes, and I don't really understand because it was like, when you walk without your weapon, you go faster.
Yeah.
You can drink potions. I'm like, this has literally always been true.
Yeah.
But they said that you will have access to a secondary weapon.
Yes, which
I really want to know what that is.
Yeah.
Do they mean like you can literally carry two weapons? Or do they literally mean that there will be a new category of weapons called secondary weapons? Or do they just mean stuff like the kunai that you could already carry?
Well, I do know that they were shooting guns off the back of the mount.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's
well, I think in the basics video, they show you put your sword away and he pulls out the heavy bow gun. So I think you're going to be,
not catch that.
and it's on the
true.
secret or whatever.
So
secret.
So maybe you're. I don't know what it's called. I'm just
the
calling
bird.
It Secret, because it's
Chocobo.
the easiest to say.
Chocobo. Yeah.
The Chocobo. Maybe that would be dope. But there are a few things. Focus mode is the big new thing that I'm very excited about.
Same.
I don't know, have you seen that already?
Explain it.
You zoom in just a little, like as if you're looking down the sights of a gun in a shooter game, and a cursor will appear, and you will attack where that cursor is fixated.
Right.
So you can now specifically target where on the animal you want to attack, like every action game that's ever existed.
Yeah.
It's an incredible advancement in technology.
Right. Yeah.
But the cool thing is that enemies will now get wounds when you attack them, and there will be a visible wound on their body that deals bonus damage when you hit it.
Right.
And focus mode will lean very heavily into targeting those specific areas.
Yeah.
So it doesn't seem to, it's not like an auto lock feature or anything like that. It's just that you will be able to focus in on certain parts of the monster, which you were already trying to do in the other games. You would like flick the analog stick to move to different general zones of the monster. Now it's all very hyper specific, which is cool. Love that.
Way more intuitive, I think.
Yeah. I agree. But all the new weapon videos that they've shown seem to be, the weapons have all existed. There's no like new weapons yet, but they all seem to be tweaked towards a more like a much higher level of specificity when you're using them.
Right.
I am like a huge hammer main, so I don't really have a ton of experience with the other weapons, but it looks like a lot of them, especially seeing the videos and them being very brief and specific about like what that style is. Would have loved to seen tutorials that looked like that in all the other Monster Hunter games when I'm flicking through them in the beginning.
Yeah.
But it's basically like the gun, the like mounted long range rifle looking thing. You can like sidestep now, and I think you could do that before, but it looks much more fluid. Like it looks like they're leaning heavier into an action game instead of that like much more tactical paced locked in animation style of combat that they've had up until now. Like, I think the thing that makes Monster Hunter work the most for me in the combat is that sense of weight to when you land a hit, it feels awesome, which is why I like the hammer attacks so much.
For sure.
It's just like spin attacking their face. That impact feels like so
good.
heavy. And yeah. That seems very much in play here, especially with the focus attacks. That looks really cool. I'm interested to see. We haven't seen anything about the base.
No.
We haven't seen anything about captures. We haven't
Which
seen...
is where most of my wishes are going to come from.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can definitely get
Makes
behind
sense.
that. There was a lot of stuff where I started to add it, and I was like, the boys will have it. The boys are going to have that on their list. I don't need to put that
Oh, no, I did the same thing.
Yeah, none of us know my stuff. So just that's pretty much everything we know. Most of the videos, they're under 2 minutes, and they're about the weapons. But they've released the focus mode video, and they've released the basics video, which is like
the date is August 11th, and this is the most we know.
Yes, this is the most we know as of August 11th.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of like pie in the sky things that I would like. I was talking to Ryan earlier about like, where are we coming from when we talk about what we want to see?
Right.
And he was talking about like grounded, realistic, like this could totally be in this game.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of those, but I also have like, I'm also thinking like this, they have been on a trajectory of like really trying to make this game more accessible.
Yeah.
And making it like a game that people can more easily jump into.
Yeah.
And typically for a healthy franchise, they will have these iterations where you have these big shifts in the philosophy of design for the games, where they try to go much bigger, they try to go much bolder, and this game already feels like that. Like the environments look much bigger.
Yeah.
In the videos that they've shown, it looks like they're going to have weather effects.
Yeah.
It looks like there is like, and this could just be to like hype you up.
Right.
But it looks like there's like migration patterns where you see like herds of monsters moving away from certain areas as the weather comes in and stuff like that. So it feels like they are trying to up that scale even more.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of my ideas came from, is that I'm excited about that idea of amping up the scale of everything.
Yeah.
Because that's always been one of their strengths, is you are fighting a beast that is 2 to 3 to 5 times your size, and you're kind of the dark horse in every fight,
right,
for the most part.
Yeah.
And I want even more to lean into that, like David and Goliath scenario.
Yeah.
So a lot of my ideas will be stuff that I don't expect to be in there, but I think it would be so interesting and cool and fundamentally advantageous if they could work in that direction eventually.
Yeah.
So it's just like, wouldn't this be super dope if they had this thing?
Yeah.
Where I don't know where you're at, Talon, in terms of how realistic and grounded your recommendations are versus just like, bro, just make the tutorials better. We all know they're so bad.
My hope is that, honestly, I kind of feel like Worlds is going into, or not Worlds, Wilds is going into a more open world, is what it feels like. I don't know what exactly it's going to be when it's done. Or if the trailer is kind of giving a different feeling than what the final product will be. But, I would like to see like where you can make like campsites in this open world. Yeah. And you're not like finishing a mission and the mission's done and then you go through a loading screen and you're back. I want it to feel like you're traveling and you're hunting.
That is the basis for like 4 or 5 of my recommendations. Is the way that they've shown the scale of this world. I want to go on like a hunt, and by hunt I mean I want to have to like traverse this world, this territory.
Which why I didn't know about the trail that they have now that tells you where to go. I'm not actually very excited about that.
That's only on your Socrat. So that's like, if you
I wanted to be able to, like, one of my hopes was like I have like a caravan thing and I have it near like a campsite and I am now looking for a certain monster and I have to know what the tracks of this monster are, the signs that one of these monsters are nearby. And if I don't see those signs,
that our
things are
wishes are lining up this much.
Like that if I see the tracks of a monster, I know I can either I need to hunt that monster, or maybe, hey, I need to avoid going this way because I can't fight that monster yet. But I can see early signs that that's this way.
Right.
Or now I know this way is safer because I see these certain types of tracks.
Yeah.
And that I can now gather monster parts too without actually having to kill the monster. Like I can cut the tail off and that monster runs away. And maybe I don't have the skill to kill the monster the whole way, and I can actually just bring that tail back to camp.
Yeah.
With the use of like the caravan or things.
Well,
like
I think it's going to be more like, I don't know how much into the basics overview they went, but I think it's going to be like World, where if you like collect footprints and data or whatever, you'll get better at hunting them, so you'll know kind of where their general area is or whatever. Or maybe it's just an accessibility feature where you can turn it off. Because I saw that too, but I don't know how.
Maybe I like if it is a smaller map and they're just kind of trying to be cinematic in the trailers for a good faith argument, and not that they're being disingenuous.
Yeah.
Then I like that they will run to where I want them to go while I'm sharpening my stuff and I'm grabbing items and everything.
Oh, I could see that. Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But I was also thinking like one of the like most iconic parts of Monster Hunter is like cooking over a fire, right? Which you almost never do in Rise.
Yeah,
I've
you
done
do it
like
once
twice.
when you're figuring out how the game works.
Yeah.
And then
And
when
they
you
need
figure out the
well-done
game
steaks.
works.
So I would like
Prime
them
mission.
to triple or quadruple down on that and have like instead of just crafting stuff to hunt monsters with, I'm crafting tents. I'm crafting like cured foods that will last longer or boost my
Like
attributes.
the cooking in Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, where
Yeah.
you go and you gather these ingredients and some are rare.
Yeah,
and you're
and I
cooking
want to
these
like
recipes.
track them, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Like I want to find footprints or like scat or slobber or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
And then I think it would be
Even
super
like dead
interesting.
monsters, and you can see the claw marks and
Yeah, and
yeah.
find new monsters based on how that monster was killed.
Yeah.
Like you investigate other monsters, leaning into this idea of a food chain and of apex predators, which they already have like apex monsters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think it would be really interesting if you had to systematically follow a monster over a course of multiple missions or over the course of multiple days, and then you are led back to their den where the alpha is, and that's like the big fight that moves you into the next portion of the game or whatever. And I really like the idea of like having these areas, because one of my favorite parts of Rise is exploring the world and finding all these little corners and the relics and it feels like a real place. So even if I don't find something, just being like, oh, this is a way for me to get over here if I'm ever chasing a monster and I need a quicker route or whatever.
Yeah.
I love those little shortcuts, like that Souls like, oh, this leads me back here kind of situation. And I would love to see like if you're fighting like the badger monster, you can lead him over to a cave that's covered by vines and get him like to attack you, dodge roll, and he hits the vines and tears them down. And now that's a new region of the map that you can go into.
Yeah.
But you have to think about, okay, which kind of monster has that kind of attack that would help me shatter this ice or roll this boulder or whatever.
Right.
And it intuitively
does this puzzle.
Instead of giving me 18 different images that I scroll through where it's like, you opened a barrel, this is what barrels are, and then you have to look through this tutorial and then it immediately pops up a new tutorial. Just I learn about the monsters by needing them to engage with the world around me in order to open up new paths or whatever, or find new resources. Oh, this is an abandoned mine shaft and you tore down the like barrier to it, and now I can go in there and mine rare ore or whatever.
Right.
Like the interconnectedness of the environment to be like, these are monsters that exist in a system.
Yeah.
And to really make that system matter would be really interesting to me.
Yeah.
And then you could have like the big apex monsters that come in and like open up the next biome. Like maybe the ice biome is hidden behind a huge wall of ice.
Yeah.
And you need to fight the apex monster that has like a fire attack to melt that or whatever. And that could even be cinematic. But the point is, all this stuff feels connected to each other much more like organically.
Yeah,
because that is the strength to me in Monster Hunter is the way that like every ingredient that you need to craft something is a plant that grows somewhere.
Yeah,
or a monster that you harvest or whatever.
Right.
And like that's just I just wanted to jump on your bandwagon and say like that I really want them to lean into my Socrat has like a wagon that I make and upgrade, and I can haul like tents or whatever in there.
Yeah.
And I can like ward off monsters at night by putting up like the equivalent of a tiki torch for mosquitoes, but for monsters or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of thing, it would be really interesting. And I have other stuff that is connected to that, but I don't want to just monologue for the whole episode.
I just think a camp, like they have so many NPCs in Monster Hunter and or like mechanics that are just like spread out, and you could just condense that. And it's just like if you just had like a campsite where you can like have these stations where you do all that stuff yourself. Yeah, you get rid of these interesting characters and stuff perhaps, but I think it would make it feel more like
interesting's always been a stretch for their characters.
Yeah, I'm just saying
they're more like
you
cool
lose
designs.
the potential of interesting characters. That like I think having the campsite and like you're on a hunt instead of like a load screen that takes you back to a hub world every time you defeat a monster.
Every time. Yeah.
It's like, no, I want to hunt the monster, or I want to get parts from the monster. Like if you just hunt a monster for a while and you're just gathering scales off of it as best you can, or hunting or cutting its tail off.
I like the idea of
its
incrementally hunting a really big monster.
I mean, Rise had that. You can either capture or you can kill it. And for me, it was like, and you get like different rewards based on what you do. But it was like, if you cut off the tail, you can cut the tail. Or you can like, scrap the tail and get you roll an item for what you cut. And it's like, they didn't like feel very good to me. It was just like, if I kill the monster, its tail's right there. Or if I capture the monster, its tail's right there.
It definitely feels like the most mathematical way of solving that problem instead of the most like narrative or intuitive way.
I thought it would be interesting to have a system where the more you beat up the monster, the more hits it takes, the less quality products you get. So if you exploit monster weaknesses, you get higher quality parts. So instead of making the monster more harder and then you get better parts, it's just like make it to where the better we kill it, the better quality parts we get.
Okay, yeah.
I think that would be great to see in Wilds, rather than like, this is the A version of this monster and this is the B version of this monster.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what we did to make more content for the game, was we just made a different color of that
color
monster.
of the and
it's like, no, just like as we upgrade weapons and get better at hunting these monsters, reward us for that.
Right. Yeah. That's a great idea. I love that idea.
Killing the monsters versus capturing the monsters is not a significant enough difference for me in the game. The only difference is, like you were saying, the percentage chance that you get certain items versus certain other items. It increases the likelihood depending on which method you use. I want them to totally overhaul that system.
Yes, me too.
Okay. First of all, I want to be able to capture monsters way more. Like, I want there to be a narrative reason why I capture monsters or kill monsters. I don't want to just be able to do either way all the time.
Capturing helps you do research on behaviors.
That's what I'm saying. So you can, leaning back into the ecosystem idea. I think what would be really interesting is you capture monsters when they are underpopulated. So basically, the more you hunt a certain monster, the more all the other monsters that it eats will overpopulate, because now there are fewer of those, and these are just like overpopulating.
So your hunting is having an effect on
and so when those become they'll reach like an endangered point where basically you can only hunt a certain amount in a time frame or whatever. But if you could capture them and then bring them to the town, and then they breed in the town, and maybe that's a mini game, or maybe it's just a passive thing that happens, whatever. But the important thing that I think would make it more interesting would be what's happening?
No, go ahead.
Oh, you're good. Okay. Is that like as those are repopulated and re-released into the environment, the new generations of them could have mutations where you can get parts that you couldn't get before. Because now it's a new...
Because of inbreeding.
Because of inbreeding. Well, I wasn't thinking inbreeding specifically. But so when you're looking at just using an example of wolves and deer. If like you kill deer, but you capture deer, you kill wolves. If you do one or the other too much, it starts to affect the population of the alternate, so that there's an incentive to capture versus kill.
Yeah.
And take all of these different elements, like like sleep, poison, fire, blah blah blah. Take all of those, break those trees up into capture weapons and kill weapons. And the capture weapons are all like stun, sleep, blah blah blah, like non-lethal but still debilitating effects, versus the kill effects that are like poison, fire, blah blah blah. And then that way you have two unique approaches to how you hunt, and if you want to capture, you have a whole like sub game. Yeah, it's a tool set that you're using, and you're like, okay, I need a capture build versus I need a kill build. And really incentivize me to capture things instead, because at the end of the day, I always feel a little bad about killing a random monster in the middle of nowhere for no reason whatsoever.
Oh, there's plenty of reason.
And yes, but
the sweet loot.
I feel bad about it.
Yeah.
And Rise did this thing where at the beginning of the game, they're like, we have to kill these monsters because they're coming from a completely different region.
Yeah.
They're apex predators.
Yeah, they're different
than
than
an
us.
invasive species. They don't look like us. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And then they just totally drop that whole thing, and they're like, I don't, just kill them all. Just kill all of everything you see, you should kill it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it even incentivizes you to like, there is no reason to ever capture, especially small monsters that are effectively harmless. Kill all of those, especially.
Yeah.
Do not capture those.
You will get an
You
ugly
can't
armor
capture
set.
those.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Congratulations. You
Yeah.
will get a dumb little like rabbit ears
Yeah.
aesthetic. But yeah, like I really want them to double down on making capturing versus killing a meaningful differentiation.
Yeah.
And there's already all the tools in place for them to do that.
Right.
They just need to like break up those ideas.
Not make it so Capcom.
That in general, if you could make your game less Capcom-y, that would be huge.
Well, we'll bring it back to Talon unless he's just like, don't do that.
I've got a couple things I want, and that's grappling hook traversal,
Yeah.
which
I don't want wire bugs.
I don't want the wire bugs.
It doesn't-
but I do want to be able to.
It doesn't look like it looks like grappling hooks. In it.
Yeah,
but the
that's what
way
I want.
that they
and they have that in World.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if you
forgot
remember
about
that, but
that.
yeah, they do.
It could be improved, and that's
But
what I want.
Yeah.
In the YouTube videos, they've said that you can use the grappling hook to attach to to pull stuff down, like environmental stuff,
Yeah.
or to grab resources that are far away from you.
Yeah, which is
You don't
nice
have to
because you're
walk up
running
and-
and he just goes and he just grabs an herb and keeps running.
And I don't
I'm
know
like,
if
that's yeah.
I'm assuming they've hidden the HUD so that you can't
sure.
see.
Yeah.
But
I would like minimalized HUD though.
if it looks like it does, like give me an option to make it look like it does in the
There's just so
trailers
much
that
going
they've
on
released so
with
far.
Rise's HUD.
Because all the vegetation in the world is collectible, but it's like unique. It all looks so unique. You know that you can collect it because
Right.
it has like a piece of fruit
stands
attached
out.
to it or
Yes,
whatever.
exactly.
So I would love it to be almost strictly just visual cues.
Yeah.
I think that would make it way more cinematic.
Yeah.
And I think, to be fair, it looks like that regardless of whether they have icons everywhere in the final product, one big thing that really stuck out to me in the trailers is that like when your weapon is transforming and stuff, there's so much more of like a mechanized feel to it where it's like
Yeah.
like it looks like it's actually held together with like bolts and
Right.
like wedges and stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's really interesting to see the weapons transform, and it looks like almost like a cosplayer has made a version of like the switch axe and stuff. Like I think all of that is really interesting. Or like the charge blade, they haven't done switch axe yet.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I loved seeing the little details of how like steampunky it kind of looks when you're wielding weapons in that game. So if they keep leaning in that direction with other elements of the game, I think it's going to make it that much better.
No, I completely agree. It's like a whole new level of detail. Of course, the destructible environments. I think they should just keep doing that.
Yeah,
but like
lean into that.
even a little bit more.
Not
so.
like Minecraft though.
No, I want a voxel monster hunter.
Okay. Here's one thing. To me, it has to have crossplay.
Yeah,
It's got to.
it won't But yeah,
I want it to.
It has to, but it won't.
I feel like it has to.
I don't think it will. When has there been a Capcom game with crossplay?
I don't think they. I think if you
Street Fighter 6 has
Street Fighter 6 has crossplay.
Okay.
Well, then there's a good amount of hope.
I think they have to have it.
There's a good amount of hope then. I'd say.
I was gonna say 0% chance, but with Capcom already doing it in Street Fighter, I'll say 6%.
Just depends on who worked on Street Fighter 6.
Well, I just think that they're trying to implement that.
The other problem is that in general, Japanese developers do not tend to prioritize PC ports. So doing multi-platform, I'm afraid, will end up in a situation where it's like, yeah, it'll be multi-platform when the PC port comes out.
I see what you're saying.
So it'll be like, until then, all the console players are doing their own thing, and then by the time PC comes out, they're invested in that, and it'll probably have to start a new character or some
I think,
stuff.
especially specifically Capcom, they're really trying to hone in on PC ports.
That's great.
Simultaneously.
Because that's where I want to play this.
Simultaneously.
So
I'll probably get it on the Series X.
So
I'm thinking.
I'll just get it on PC and play it with
I'm
Series
getting on the
X
PS5,
controller.
and that's why I want crossplay.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I want co-op focus attacks. So if we've got a couple great swords, or Jared, you're hanging back with a bowgun or something like that, and Ryan and I are doing focus attacks, and we're like slicing them up on the side, and here you're going blasting them in the face with the front. I want that.
Not just that, but like make it like a team attack.
Right, like a team up attack. Right, exactly.
Like not just that we're collaborating, but like
I hold you on the end of my greatsword, and then I sling you.
Well,
Up in the air.
I don't think it's out of the question for Capcom to do that, like an anime style.
Yeah.
Every
Not with
weapon,
the aesthetic direction. That the game
every
seems
weapon
to
has one like specific attack, like a focus attack, but it's a team attack that collaborates with every other weapon.
Yeah.
Sure.
I feel like that's a lot, but I don't feel like when everything else in that game is already so involved, I don't think it's crazy to think that they would do something like that.
Yeah. Well, they're going a lot more cinematic. Because like the lion creature or whatever, when he's doing like an uppercut, the camera goes like down. You know what I mean? And you do the uppercut and then it flies backwards. And I don't know if they're doing that just for trailer purposes, but
I'm a little nervous that a lot of the stuff that I like so much about this is just a cinematic style that they've chosen for the trailers.
Right, for the trailers.
I mean, that's happened
but
with video games time and time again.
so many times.
But like when you're guarding and you're guarding its mouth. When your sword is like pinned between its mouth.
Yeah, when it's like trying to bite you and he's literally like holding it between his teeth.
Have you seen that?
That was awesome.
Ryan, have you seen that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's incredible. So I'm like, that's going to be awesome. But it's like, if you're like, if you're sliding down like the sand and you see Ryan just like, you know what I mean? Trying not
just
to
like
be
fighting
eaten.
for his life.
And I'm like, dude, that's going to be awesome.
I'm like, I will save you.
Yeah, here I go. Yeah.
I would like to see in general more interaction with like, if you are, what's happening?
No, I was just going to interject.
Yeah.
But like if like a cool combo attack, if someone is holding the mouth open, is have someone else shoot into the mouth.
Have the bow gun just jammed in there. Or just like if you are stuck in that animation where you're like, I don't know if you're button tapping or what, or if that's just a scripted thing where you've blocked at the right time and that's just a cool way to convey that.
Yeah.
But like if somebody else could like jump on top of it in that moment.
Oh, yeah.
Like those moments create opportunities that other people, regardless of what weapon they have, can capitalize on.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that would be really interesting.
Yeah. Well, here's the one thing I specifically don't want, and I really hope they don't do it. We've got very little time left, but the one thing I don't want.
How long is this thing you're about to say?
No, I'm just saying in general.
You got very little time left, but your scroll unrolls.
Water levels. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't
do mud. Don't do water. Unless you're going to give me gear that lets me navigate that in a new, interesting, fun in a different way kind of way. I don't want it.
I don't want underwater levels.
I don't.
You don't want underwater monsters.
Monster Hunter Tri does this, and it was like cool at first. It was on the Wii, and I think it's on the Wii U now. But like, it was cool at first, but fighting monsters underwater, it's
probably why they haven't done it.
It seems like it would make the combat basically abysmal.
Yeah, it's so difficult.
I would like to see some traversal where like you find some really neat areas by like.
Yeah, if you want to go underwater, find some caves where you can mine some very specific work. Sure. But I'm not
like,
fighting monsters underwater.
Swimming sounds fun, but fighting in the water does not sound fun.
I mean, in real life, you don't want to hunt while swimming underwater.
That is so true. It's my least favorite way to hunt.
What people do with spear guns and scuba gear.
Right.
Yeah. So you just got to gear up for it.
But I don't want it.
Okay.
Don't do it. Please.
I also don't want
an underwater temple.
What I would like is leaning back into the... I don't want that. What I would like leaning back into the environmental stuff is like, if they're going to make the terrain part of the struggle, like if I'm on a... There you go. If I'm on a volcano level and I'm fighting them and I have to like jump from platform to platform or something, give me something in return. Like make it cut both ways, in that I have to be careful about how I traverse this in the fight, but at the same time there are new tools for me to like dump lava on him mid-fight or whatever. I also want some kind of advantage when I'm at a disadvantage.
Or maybe you can like the monster also has to be careful where it is or something. And
right. Like you can lead them into an area that makes them much more confined.
Place
in how they can
explosives
fight.
on the ledges you think they'll go, and you blow those up.
Yeah, that sounds dope. Like actually,
cool.
like blow up the side of this like lava plateau you're on, and then they fall to a new area.
Which is one of my wishes is intricate traps.
Like, rather than just like, here's a net on the ground.
Like if you're gonna have like the palico and palamutes, I don't know if they are or will not, but it'd be cool to have them, like you tell them where to be, and they're like on turrets that you've set up. Like
I think that's a lot more interesting than like, I mean, they already do some interesting things, but just fundamentally having them there to like continuously also bonk for a minimal amount of damage. I'd much rather set them up somewhere and be like, hey, when this monster comes near you, you just automatically set off.
And then if you go multiplayer, your friend just takes that position instead. Like, hey, I'm going to run this Anjanath through this canyon. And that'd you need to be ready to pull this wire.
I like the idea of having to work together outside of combat. Like, I think, and I like environmental traversal. So I also like the idea of the more you explore, the more you're like, dude, this is the perfect place to set up a trap over here. I did not find this, but we could totally do this to knock them here and then bring them here. And then we're on equal footing. Like, you know, a big thing about Monster Hunter is the attacks matter a lot when in the context of the environment. Where like fighting a monster in a particular area really sucks if they have a certain attack pattern. And so you want to draw certain monsters out of certain areas. Forcing them out of certain areas instead of just like running away or using a stink mink is way more interesting and way more compelling to me. I just think it continuing with the theme, it brings everything together in a more interesting way.
Like if there was like you're on like above a cave or something like that, and there's like one of you guys is in front of the cave, but there's like a hole at the top of the cave, and you could drop like a smoke bomb or something like that and draw the monster out instead of us trying to fight the monster inside its home, where it's obviously better to fight, you know. So I think that would
strap meat around someone's neck, and like I mean it's funny, but seriously, it'd be kind of cool.
That would be kind of
cool. Put it around their ankles. Like you run slower,
flapping flaps of steak.
Like if someone is like has like bait around them and other people are shooting with tranq darts, that beast isn't going to even notice the tranq darts as it's trying to get to this thing that's pulling aggro.
Exactly.
I think that's awesome. I love that idea.
But
I knew you'd have a good one somewhere.
I would like a cooperative story mode. I think that would be cool.
Yeah, I honestly
all the way through the whole thing without being able to, you know what I mean.
The Rise single player only missions, get rid of that.
Yeah. That's true. I didn't even think about that. I don't want those. You get them out of here.
And don't give me 2 hub worlds, and don't give me.
Make arena combat more interesting, because I am a sucker for arena-based combat. I don't know what it is, but I love gladiatorial combat.
That could be the capturing.
That could be the capturing thing. You have to capture them before you can
put
fight them
in
in
the arena.
But you get better rewards.
Great
I
idea.
came up with that on my own. But like make it more involved. I think what you're saying, where like people are doing other things that make like put the monster at a disadvantage that aren't necessarily directly related to combat. That sounds really interesting. Maybe you have like a setup time in the arena where you can set objects down in the arena and make your own, instead of it being like a set thing where it's like all we have is a wall that goes up or down. Before you can like use resources to buy like a barricade. and force them to move in a certain pattern or something like that.
Yeah.
And you could set up patterns that are like a template for specific monsters.
Yeah.
So Toby Kadachi.
Toby
the monster I was
Kadachi,
trying to
the
think of.
squirrely one.
Yes.
Like maybe if you want to fight Toby Kadachi, you're like, okay, I'm going to make a Toby Kadachi arena where like they have to fight me in a certain way or whatever.
Yeah.
Like there's so much more potential in the arena combat in that game that I would love to see them capitalize on.
Yeah. So, and Gamescom is when? In 2 weeks, I think.
Sure. Sounds good. I only
think
pay
that's-
attention to board game conventions
I think
now.
that's when they're gonna release more info. So I'm excited.
I do not
to
think
see.
that we will see many or, if at all, any of our suggestions once Hope streams.
I don't
But
know.
I think there's
I'm
a
curious.
good chance that at least a couple.
To be honest,
of
I think you're
these-
probably right. I'm like thinking through. I'm like, no.
I think
probably
the trailer
not.
has
No.
us optimistic about it, and it sparks our imagination with what they could be conveying with this trailer.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah.
and I don't know if that's their intention or not.
Yeah.
But I'm excited either way. I'm going to play
Yeah.
it either way.
I think
for
that's
sure.
that's at the end of the day. I know that I'm going to enjoy this game. I know that it will probably be. It will be very difficult for them to make it less fun than Rise.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
know
I had
I'm
a
gonna love it.
ton of complaints with Rise,
Yeah.
but it's
Now we
a
need to
super
go-
Still
solid
one of
game.
my most played games.
We really need to go and play World now.
I'll go play World.
I literally
sure.
am going to go home and download World. So if you guys want to play, that's cool. If not, I'll still be playing World. Watching the YouTube videos for Wilds
Makes
makes
you
you want
wanna
to
play
play it so
World.
bad.
Yeah.
And I was like, I should switch to the Charge Blade. And then I was like, well, if I could just play World, I'll just start with the Charge Blade.
Exactly.
Because if I'm going to have to basically start over anyway,
Might as
Right.
well.
might as well do World with the Charge Blade instead.
Yeah.
So I am going to go.
Okay.
This definitely hyped about Monster Hunter.
Yeah,
So-
exactly.
And it's not out till 2025, so I
Right.
might as well play World.
Yeah. And I think they did say, just real quick, I think they did say they're not going. It's not going to be open world. It's
Yeah.
still going to be open level, which I think is a good call.
That's
So,
fine.
It just depends on execution.
Yep, 100% for me.
Yeah, where it's like
Either
World
one's
and
fine.
Rise are
Yeah.
open level. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
more seamless. So I just want more of that. Bring it on.
I agree.
So
Yeah.
As long as they keep making their levels super interesting and,
Yeah.
and intricate and detailed
Yeah.
and fun to explore,
yeah, I'm down.
I'll be fine.
Yeah. I just don't like when the world becomes like a science. Like you've got it broken down to like, I have to go this way to grab this
Yeah.
item because it's this way, and then
Well, remember
other
they had weather effects in the first trailer.
Yeah, they
so
did.
hopefully the weather effects will meaningfully change
Change
how you
things.
have to navigate the
Right.
levels, and that would be really interesting.
Yeah.
If every level basically has like 3 or 4 permutations that
Yeah.
change who's there and how you get around.
Yeah, good point.
That'd be
That'd be cool. So, anyways,
Cool. Great.
thanks guys for watching.
Thanks to Sam
And
Webster.
Thanks for Sam Webster for the intro outro music.
Always great.
Thanks guys for.
thanks to Capcom for Monster Hunter.
That's right.
Leave a comment, of course, on our YouTube video or email us at didisavepodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you want.
That's right.
Yeah. Or if you just watch this 3 years from now, tell us what you want from the next Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
Tell us what ideas
See
you
if we
think are
were right.
terrible.
Yeah.
So we'll come back to this and be like, I was right, or we were wrong. So
I think that's more likely.
that's more likely. So, anyways,
And I can't
But-
believe Talon's president now.
yeah, that's right. So,
Well,
but
congratulations.
it's 20th anniversary of Monster Hunter. So
Yeah.
excited to see what happens next.
That's pretty cool.
So,
I hope they make plushies.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us, and don't forget to
Don't
save.
forget to save.
Don't forget to save.